or even that he is God.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a verse that we Muslims, our scholars in the past, have actually used to prove that Jesus couldn't have been God. Where Jesus is made to say in the Gospels, in John chapter 17, verse 3, and this is life eternal, that they may know the only true God and Jesus Christ whom thou hast sent.
Yeah.
Clearly indicating that there is the God and there is Jesus.
Yeah.
Look at the Lord's Prayer. I mean, if that's not an evidence of Jesus' subordinacy, I don't know what is.
Exactly.
He says, Our Father, hallowed be thy name, not my name, right? In other words, if he was God, he wouldn't need to say, well, hold on, it includes me as well.
Yeah.
He's saying, hallowed be thy name.
Yeah.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as it is on earth as it is in heaven.
Yeah.
Again, Jesus is claiming that it's not my will, it's your will. The Father, his God. So the consistency of message of Islam is something I think that many people find appealing. Number one, the concept of God in Islam is simple and it resonates with both the mind and the heart.
Yeah.
And this should be what truth is all about. Truth isn't found in complications. You don't need a PhD to understand the truth.
Simplicity is truth itself.
Exactly. So our Prophet, for instance, told us that every child isn't born in sin. We don't believe in this idea that an innocent child who doesn't have the ability to tell the difference between right and wrong is born in sin.
Yeah.
We find that an offense to reason, let alone the innocence of a child. Are you a father by any chance?
Yeah.
Could you ever imagine a baby being being described as sinful in nature?
No, and this is where I have struck. So, when I was growing up, I really did I wanted to be a priest. I was an altar boy, the whole thing, right? And as I've grown up and understand a lot more about different faiths, you look at that part in a way, and that happened around 4th century after Christ.
Right.
The way that the
Trinity.
early the way that the early popes were trying to gain basically the subordinates that they wanted that came through taxation really and interceding on their behalf, and if you pay this then you go to there, if you pay this then you're if you want this to happen, give us money to be able to do that, but also you're sinful, so you need us, and that intercession, it removes that ability to be at one with God.
Exactly.
So, and the idea of being at one with, every morning I sit, quiet meditation, 10 minutes, it's not to any particular idea or concept really, it's just that one God that I know, through my own experience, praying to that God on a daily basis.
Yes.
I don't take any, when you said well done for being sober for that time, God's kept me sober for that time, right? I haven't done it. If I was trying to do it years and years and years on my own will, I couldn't, God's will has enabled me to stay sober, to be an active member of society, to be the parent that I should have been, to be the son that I should have been, all of that stuff, that's come from there, and that for me is where I don't have conflict with any religions. I'm able to interpret. It might sound like it's a bit of a pick and mix, but it's not, because ultimately what happens in there is what is crucial, really. And I know
what happens in there is what God has implanted in every human being. Exactly. And the atheists struggle with this. They just can't understand how it is that human beings have right throughout history, and including in this era, they still hold so firmly to the transcendent. Now, Islam came and told us about why it is that human beings do have this belief beyond themselves. It's known in the Arabic language as the Fitrah. The Prophet said every child is born upon the Fitrah, but its mother and father, they inculcate within it Judaism, Christianity, or Zoroastrianism, meaning the environment that you're brought up in usually dictates how you're going to turn out. But just because you're brought up in that environment, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. The truth is what's implanted within your heart. The challenge is to recognize the obvious truth, and once you recognize it, to submit to it. That's what the message of the prophets and messengers were. They're essentially claiming that, look, if you believe in a higher being, you don't need human beings as intermediaries, because you've already acknowledged that this higher being is the source of all things. It has incredible knowledge, knowledge the extent of which no one else has, because it brought everything into existence. So it is the standard. It has incredible power. It is alive. It has all these attributes which you as human beings would acknowledge for yourselves. So therefore, a fortiori, meaning by extension of logic, you should also acknowledge that for the Creator. Because we have attributes. We think, we love, we feel, we do all these things. We don't deny that for human beings, right? Sorry, my friend, go ahead. We don't deny that for ourselves. Why would we deny that for the very being that brought this universe into existence? That should be acknowledged to the umpteenth degree. When you recognize that, how is it that then God, who knows us better than we know ourselves, who knows everything in the universe, from the very quarks to the greatest things in the universe, how is it that God would want human beings as intermediaries on our behalf? So believe it or not, when the Prophet came to the pagan Arabs, they had established for themselves a number of idols. 360 were placed in a particular area. But despite that, because of their fitrah, they still believed in an overarching creator. Like the Hindus, they may say that there's so and so many avatars, God becoming a rat, a monkey, a this, that, and the other. They still believe in one God. Do you know why the pagan Arabs took these idols as intermediaries? They believed, and this might sound familiar to you, they believe that God is so holy, so beyond us, that we can't exist in his presence. So we need these intermediaries to reach him. The Quran and the Prophet said, no. All God who knows you better than you know yourself wants you to do is turn to him in sincerity. And so in the Quran, God says, وَقَالُوا رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Call upon me, I will answer your call. All we have to do is call upon him based upon certain conditions. And this is where truth comes into it. Like, for instance, you said you're a father. I'm a father myself. When we brought our children into this world, we instinctually recognize that we have rights over the children. You know, we're gonna clothe them, we owe them something. When they grow up and we become feeble, we're hoping if we've done a good enough job that they're going to look at us and say, well, you know what? As good or bad a father as he was, I owe him something. You know, when we bring pets into our life, we recognize that those pets have rights. Islam is if you wanted to encompass Islam as a religion, it is the establishment of rights. From the greatest right and then proliferating all the way down. So who has the greatest right, do you think? God. The one who brought, because ultimately we die, we return back to God. And it is God who is going to hold us to account. All the prophets and messengers taught the Day of Judgment. There's a reason why the Day of Judgment is there. It's because of the fact that, like our scholars have told us, this world is not a world of absolute good. It's not a world of absolute evil. It's a mixture of good and evil. So in the Quran, God gives us answers to these fundamental questions. Like, for instance, God says that we created death and life so that we may test which of you are good in deeds. Why is he saying this? Because one of the attributes of God is that he's loving, he's merciful, but he's also just. And justice in Islam is putting everything in its rightful place. Like your bag, if I take that, that's injustice because I'm taking what belongs to you and hoarding it to myself. So that's me taking something that belongs to you, removing justice and replacing it with injustice. Now we recognize that amongst ourselves. You know, when you came together with your wife, for instance, or your girlfriend, you recognize that instinctually you recognize that if we are evil towards each other, or if we're deceiving or anything like that, it's not in our best interest. We have to mutually come together upon justice and help the relationship grow. That's true of our family, that's true of society. If that's true for fundamental aspects that we recognize amongst ourselves, how can it not be true of the one who gave us the intelligence? So the one who gave us intelligence, that has the greatest attribute of justice. It gave us the knowledge of this. The Prophet said that God, who's merciful, he sent down one small portion of mercy upon the universe. Through this, the mother bird goes out into the morning to feed its young, and the mother horse doesn't trample over her fowl. And he's reserved for himself 99. And so the Prophet said God has established 99 parts of his mercy. One part he sent down to the world, and 99 he has reserved for the day of judgment for his believers. So this is the justice of God. So in other words, people like Hitler who thought they'll get away by just committing suicide, they're not going to get away.
Yeah.
So this gives now the believers a sense of confidence in the Creator, that he's explaining things such that you're not left to guesswork, because guesswork can lead to ignorance, and ignorance can lead to people veering off the right path and beginning to improvise in life. Look at the way people are improvising today, turning away from the laws of God to the point where you have a proliferation of New Age religions, a proliferation of the concept of sexuality, for instance. You can be a man one day and you can identify as a woman or a dog or whatever else it is. Islam says that if you turn away from the truth that God has sent down through his prophets and messengers, invariably the chances of you allowing evil to enter into your life would increase, because you turned away from the truth. If you turn away from the truth, what are you going to adopt other than the opposite of truth? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So God says in the Quran that evil has appeared in the land and in the sea because of what the hands of men have earned.
Yeah.
So that they may taste a portion of that evil and then return back to God in repentance. So in the Quran God says, God doesn't command to evil. Do you say of God that which you do not know? God says in the Quran that we have sent down to you a book, the Quran, which is an explanation of all necessary things. It is a guidance, it is a mercy, and it is glad tidings for those who believe. So the condition for the person who wants to receive the fullness of truth is he has to firstly recognize the truth. He has to be a believer in order to open the door fully to accept the truth. The verse continues. It says, Inna Allah ya'mur bil adli wal ihsan. Truly Allah, He commands to all that is just. And He commands to all righteous good deeds. And He tells you to enjoin this upon your kith and kin. But He never commands to injustice, evil, or oppression. This is the message of Islam, the establishment of rights. The first right is that you do not associate and lie against God. You worship Him as He ordered you to worship Him. And the only way we can do that is through the prophets and messengers He has sent to mankind over this long period of time. Then there's the proliferation of rights thereafter. Now there's a verse in the Quran which you might find quite beautiful. It says that it's referred to as the last and final testament of Prophet Muhammad. Now, when a person, have you written your will? Because I've written my will.
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Better get down to it, son.
It's not like I'm not getting any younger either.
Neither am I. So I've written my will down. But usually when we write our will, we write about the most important things.
Yeah.
You know, I've got so much money. Give this to my wife. Give this to my children, my daughter, my son, etc. Right?
Yeah.
My dog, my cat, whatever. Right. So have a look at what the Prophet Muhammad was told by God. This is your will. It begins as follows. It says, "Let me recite unto you what your Lord has forbidden you from." Now, given what I said to you before, the most important right of all has to be God. So the verse says, "Do not associate partners in your worship of God." This is the purpose of life in Islam. All of us on this planet, all of us that came before, all of us who are going to be born, our collective purpose is described in a very short verse in the Quran. And I challenge you to find something like this in any other religion. You won't. I've looked. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. God said, I have not created jinn, which is an alternate form of life. I'm not sure whether you've heard of the word jinn. No, like genie.
Oh, okay.
No, like from the Arab, from the Middle East.
Yeah.
That's derived from the word jinn. Nor mankind except to do what? Worship God. That's it. Our purpose in life is to worship God, and this is our test. And the worship is based upon what? Truth. If we follow the truth, everything thereafter will fall into place. Then the verse continues, and guess who the two people are that God juxtaposes alongside His greatest right? Your mother and father. Extraordinary. It says, and be ihsanan to your mother and father. Ihsanan is in the superlative of the language, meaning the best version that you can be. There's another verse in the Quran that complements this. It says, if one of them or both of them reach old age, extend a wing of humility over them and don't say uff. Forget throwing them into old people's home or telling them to F off or whatever, right? the word ufun in the Arabic language would be equivalent to today's kissing of the teeth. The expression, this is the height of respect we have to have for our parents. And this is juxtaposed alongside God's right, just one rung below. Then the verse continues and says, do not kill your children out of fear of poverty, because it is God that feeds you and He feeds them. What is this drawing? What is this in reference to? Unfortunately, the pagan Arabs, because they turned away from the religion of Ishmael, they turned away from the truth. They began, like I said, to improvise. This improvisation led to them adopting things that, if I were to tell you, you would describe it as disgusting. The poor amongst the Arabs, they believed that if a baby girl is born, it's a financial liability, because they believe that they have to pay the dowry. And the extortion, the amount of extortion for the Arab father or the family to pay the dowry was so much that they used to think, what's the point of having a daughter? I mean, what am I going to do with her? You know what they used to do? When the baby was born, some of them would go into the deserts of Arabia and bury her alive. One of the companions of the Prophet, a woman who was the first martyr of Islam, she said that when she was about to bury her third daughter, I think it was, a hand came out and grabbed a hold of her finger. And she vowed at that time, I don't care however many daughters I have thereafter, I will never do this again. This is before she became a Muslim. So the Quran is saying, don't have justice, because God, He is the one that provides for you and He provides for them. In other words, how do you know you won't strike gold tomorrow? And then God says, and do not kill those whom it is unlawful for you to kill except upon justice. Because the Arabs at the time, the pagan Arabs, they were going to war at the flimsiest of pretenses. You know, and then some of them, they would go to war for so long that some of them didn't know why their forefathers went to war over. It was an extraordinary experience. Now, Prophet Muhammad came along and he united what no other man in history from that time had done. Under the truth, they all recognized Muhammad to be, before he received the revelation at the age of 40, they already had a nickname for him. Because God doesn't choose sinners to spread His message. He chooses those of repute, people who already have a reputation, the truthful, the trustworthy. So they already knew Prophet Muhammad to be as-Sadiq al-Amin, the trustworthy and the truthful. So this was the quality of the Prophet Muhammad. This was the quality of Jesus. This was the quality of Moses. All the prophets had this.
Well, look at Noah in the middle of, some of the worst times.
Yes.
At the beginning, So, listen, I am going to have to go.
No worries,
listen, I've enjoyed the conversation.
Have you read the Quran, by the way?
No.
Can I give that to you as a present? It's free?
Well, I'd always understood it as being, unless you come to it with an open heart, then it's not going to reveal what it needs to reveal. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Why?
I'm not coming to it closed at all. So.
No. It's saying here, if you accept the truth of Islam, you come to it recognizing it to be the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Before that, it's inviting people to debate with us. The Quran actually says, call to the way of your Lord with wisdom, with a beautiful mode of exhortation, and literally debate with them in the ways that are best. The Quran actually tells, one of the foundational aspects of Islam is, you have to enjoin the good. You can't be like the Hindu sadhu who has all this knowledge, goes away into the forest, but whilst his villagers are killing each other over ignorance. Islam is about not just claiming you have the truth in your heart, you have to live it. So in the Quran, if you read the Quran, you'll find constantly God saying, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, those who believe and do righteous good deeds. As Muslims, we don't believe in this idea of being the chosen nation, like the children of Israel did. They invented this idea that, we're the chosen nation. We Muslims, we have a condition for being the best nation. The Quran actually says, you are the best of nation ever raised up amongst mankind. But not because your name is Muhammad, because you were born to a man named Muhammad. No. It says that you enjoin all that is good and you forbid all that is evil, and that is your belief in God. In other words, if you don't do that, you will not be the best of people. You'll be the worst of people. So when I preach to Muslims, we're telling them, you've got to be the best version, otherwise people will lord over you, like they're lording over you now. Right? So Islam is inviting you, be sincere, call upon God. Oh Allah, oh God, Allah being the name of God in the Arabic language. In Aramaic, Jesus called upon God by the term Allah. Abba as well, Abba being father. But when he was on the cross, he was calling upon God, Allah, Allah, lama sabaqtani. Hero, God, save me from this. Why have you forsaken me? So, all we're asking people to do is approach God and be sincere, and we guarantee you God will guide you to the truth. Just as God guided you towards you wanting to rectify yourself those 18 years ago, it may be that today is the opportunity for you to ask God, if Islam is the truth, guide me to it. If not, but we're saying if you are sincere and you are open to the truth, then a sincere person who's open to the truth would never deny the truth. I've made it a condition upon myself, and it's taken years for me to practice this, and when the truth comes my way, whether it's in the religion or not, I'll accept it. And it's kept me in good stead. So I would encourage others, when the truth comes your way, you know the truth is going to better your life, why would you not want to accept it? In the Quran, God says, truly Allah has forbidden alcohol, He's forbidding intoxicants, He's forbidding gambling, He's forbidding divining arrows. And then God says, so shun such abomination so that you may prosper. In the Quran, God does say that there's some good in alcohol, but it says that the evil is far greater. So the Quran gives us an understanding that what God has made forbidden and what He's made permissible, there's a reason behind it. God has not made anything permissible except that there is greater good in it than harm. And God has not made anything forbidden except that there's greater evil in it than good. Now, we may not know that, but when you submit yourself to the truth, when God says jump, you jump. Because if the foundations are true, then the building upon which it's based has to be true. It may be that you may find certain things unpalatable. Like some person said to a scholar, I can't pray. You know, Muslims pray 5 times a day, right? That's the second pillar of Islam. The first pillar is our testification of faith. This is how you become a Muslim. You say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. That's it. You don't need to become baptized. You don't need to do a bungee jump into a water or anything like that. You merely say, belief in your heart, knowing that God is the all-hearing, the all-knowledgeable. It's only between you and Him. No middlemen. We are forbidden to worship Muhammad. Muhammad himself said, cursed are those who take my grave as a place of worship, like the Jews and the Christians took the Prophet's graves as places of worship. The Prophet said, I'm just a man. The Quran says that, say to them, Ana basharun mithlukum, I am merely a man just like you. Right? It has been revealed to me, this, that and the other. So what we're being taught here is that the first pillar of Islam, you say the Shahada, you become a Muslim. And the Shahada is that there is none worthy of worship in truth except Allah. And there's none worthy of being followed in truth except the last and final messenger of God, Muhammad. Once the children of Israel gave up because they killed the prophets and messengers that came to them, once God said, you know what, enough is enough. You've done this to all the prophets and messengers. Jesus, son of Mary, has come. He's come with mighty evidences in the form of quickening the dead, healing the blind. I mean, how much more proofs do you guys need? The transfer of the covenant then went over to Ishmael's line. And this is where God then fulfills His promise in Genesis chapter 17, Genesis 17, 21 and 22. I'm going to make you a great nation. Ishmael's is now the great nation. So you become a Muslim, and then you have to put your money where your mouth is. So we're told to pray 5 times a day, and it's only five minutes in those 5 occasions. In the morning, just before sunset, afternoon, late afternoon, just after sunset, and in the evening for the rest of our life. This is a purification of our testification of faith. The third pillar, that you give 3.5% of your surplus wealth annually, like whatever's in your bank, to the poor. What this does is it purifies your wealth. It stops you from becoming niggardly. The fourth pillar, to fast during the month of Ramadan, which is 30 days. During this month, it encompasses all the previous pillars. You increase in your prayer, you increase in your giving of charity. They said that the Prophet Muhammad during the month of Ramadan, although outside it he used to give lots of charity, he was described as being like the wind, just giving away, because it's a blessed month. And you're looking to acquire those moments that God has designated in acquiring good deeds, so that it raises your rank in the eyes of God. The more good deeds you do, the better human being you are. This is what Islam, when I look at my brothers, I don't look at black, brown, whatever. I look at what the Prophet Muhammad taught us, what Allah taught us. What differentiates us is our belief in God and our righteous good deeds. This is it. And the fifth pillar, if you can afford it once in your life, to make pilgrimage to Mecca, which was built by Abraham and Ishmael in Arabia. When he took Hagar and Ishmael to Arabia, leaving Sarah in Palestine, I think it was. The fifth pillar of Islam, if you have a look at the way the Muslims dress, it's white. What this is, it eradicates this idea of rich and poor. But more importantly, it's actually a representation of the Day of Judgment. Because what do? 3 million people come together. No one knows who the rich and the poor are. We only have a cloth over us as a men and a cloth below, and all we're doing is begging God for His love, His mercy, and His forgiveness during that period. On the Day of Judgment, what did the Prophet Muhammad teach us? He taught us what Jesus and the rest of the prophets didn't teach, because Islam is the final religion. Islam is the complete way of life. And so Islam teaches what will happen when your soul is ripped out your body on your deathbed. What will happen to your soul when you're in your grave? What will happen between the period of when you die and when you're resurrected? What will happen when you're immediately resurrected? What will happen on the Day of Judgment when the disbelievers and the believers are one group? These are questions that any human being who believes in the hereafter wants satisfactory answers, because it's such an important part of religion. And so Islam came to teach this. And so the Prophet taught us that we're going to be raised up naked and uncircumcised from our graves. So one of his companions said, "Oh, Messenger of Allah, will that not cause temptation, essentially?" He said, "No, the day will be too immense for you to worry about who's sitting in front of you. You're going to be worried about only yourself." And then the Prophet taught us the steps of the Day of Judgment, that God will come to each and every individual. And he said there will be no tarjuman, and there will be no hijab, there will be no interpreter, and there will be no veil between you and your Lord. Every human being will be asked, what did you do with your life? Did the truth come to you? Did you accept the truth? Were you sincere? And we won't be able to do anything except tell the truth on that day, because we'll be compelled to, says the Quran. As for those who are destined for paradise because they accepted the truth, they will be given their book of deeds in their right hand in front of them. As for those who arrogantly recognize the truth but they rejected it, they will be given the book of deeds behind their back, and they will essentially say, "Woe unto me." They know they're going to be in trouble. Then God will, after differentiating the believers from the disbelievers, amongst the believers there will be those who are the true believers and the hypocrites. God will differentiate between them. Then God will establish the bridge, and He will tell the believers to go over it. Some of the believers will fall off the bridge and enter into hellfire in order to purify themselves. As for those who get over the bridge, they will stand before the eight gates of paradise. So look at the detail that the Prophet went into. He speaks about what you're going to get in paradise. Now, believe it or not, in paradise, we're going to receive what we have in this world. So if you and your wife, for instance, get to paradise, you will have that relationship. But the difference between this world and the hereafter, paradise, is like one of the companions of the Prophet said, the only similarity between this world and the hereafter is names. So for instance, wine, we're going to have wine in the hereafter. But the Prophet said the evil of the wine in this world is not going to exist in the wine that you're given in the hereafter. And the only similarity is that they're called wine. In other words, the difference is so unimaginably vast that you can't forget making a comparison between the two. The elevation of your purity will be so immense on that day that it will be incomparable. You won't be able to compare it. So there's a statement of our Prophet Muhammad. He said that there will be a man. He will be taken and he will be dipped into hellfire once, taken out, and it will be asked of him, did you know any suffering in this world? And he will say, by God, I never knew any suffering in this world. Why? Because the suffering in hellfire is unimaginably worse than any suffering you could ever have in this world. Then another person will be taken and dipped into paradise once, and it will be asked of him, did you know any suffering in the world? He will say, no, did you know any joy in the world? He said, no, by God, I never knew any joy in the world. So the hereafter is a place where our scholars said is a place of absolute good and absolute evil. This world, like I said, is a place of good and evil so that God can establish his justice. If it was just good, there's no way we could differentiate, let alone God justify to us, you're a good man and you're not.
The balance is there for us to be able to find out.
Exactly.
I have really...
No worries. Let me give you that Quran. Let me give you that Quran. No worries. Give me a second.
And keep going, doing what we're doing, all the best we can.
Dude, what's your name? I didn't catch your name. I didn't catch your name.
Barry.
Barry, nice to meet you. Hamza. Yeah, let me just grab that. Same things in there as well. Cool. Barry, listen. If anything I've said that I've offended, please forgive me.
No, God no.
If I've touched your heart in any way, or if it's caused a curiosity in you, I would say give it a chance. The least you'll go away is knowing a little bit more about your fellow Muslim.
Exactly.
And that can't be a bad thing, right?
No.
Exactly.
And I said, I love my Muslim brothers and sisters, so, what's happening at the moment and the targets from my people is wrong, and it's
they're not
Barry,
they're not your people.
I know.
But
you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. But, and what's happening in Palestine is unforgivable. And
but look at this smile on their face. So many people have come to Islam, Barry, I can't tell you, they've come to Islam without any Muslim inviting them. And many of them have said to us, I can't understand how an entire people have lost their family and their generation before them under rubble, and they're still saying Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, and they're still worshipping 5 times a day. You know why that is? Because the Fitrah. They've reverted back to the Fitrah. And that Fitrah is something that recognizes it will always be there in a human being. What has happened is people covered it over, but once the truth comes your way, it gets rid of that covering. So it's upon us to accept the truth, Barry. So look, I would say to you, I would ask Allah, oh Allah, guide Barry to the truth. If this is the truth, open Barry's heart to the truth and guide him towards Islam. Maybe one day I might be calling you my brother. You know what I mean? Look up yourself.